Welcome back to the show. Ms. Casey, you are back on again for the second time, one of the first guests to come back on again. So thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time again. I'm excited today to talk about the interesting world of masterminds and mentorship and all of these different things. But before we do that, for those that didn't listen to the previous podcast, can you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit more about yourself?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm so happy to be back here, Justin. Like we were talking, like I could just sit and just like shoot the shit with you all day long. It's just so awesome. And it's so great to be able to have those like really rich and awesome conversations. Anyways, yeah, so guys, I am the owner of Nutrition. I've been a nutrition coach and fitness educator for the past 10 years. And it's just honestly like my mission to just impact and make as many people healthy and live their best lives as possible. So that's why I do what I do. That's why I love Justin so much, because there's similar missions and paths behind what we do and our whys. And so that's why I just love what I get to do every day and just be a part of a greater community. And just thank you so much, Justin, for sharing your community and allowing me to be here so much. It's just so great.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you have a little bit of history in kind of masterminds and mentorships and coaches and certifications and seminars and all of these things. Can you kind of take us through, like, from the very first time you invested money in something, it could have been a book or whatever, all the way till now, like just talk about, I guess, just share the story of that process there for us.
So that is it's a great process, and one that I don't think a lot of people really know and understand how much like coaches like truly invest in themselves or really want to like add value, right? So for me, the very first thing I ever invested in as a coach, like for me to better my knowledge, was when I was a senior in college back in 2008. When I was 2008, and I wanted to graduate. Was in my CSCS certification from the National Strength Conditioning Association, was to get my certified strength conditioning specialist, and that was my very first certification that I personally paid for. Paid for that. That was well worth it. Still have it to this day. So I paid for that certification. And then from there on, I continued to get more. I got another certification through. I got some specialty certifications through muscle activation technique. And so probably spent in total for strength conditioning education, and then also spending money on going and doing continuing education units to keep those current. Spent over in the past 10 years, spent well over $50,000 those certifications to keep those active and keep those current, just so that I can be of value in all the different arenas that I'm coaching in, is having the CSCS certification and being a specialist for muscle activation technique, which is a whole nother investment for me to learn how to do that. And then also learning different specialties in speed and agility, because that was my jam before nutrition. And then fast forward and like spent more education on functional diagnostic nutrition through the Kresser Institute. And then doing some more education through Nutritional Coaching Institute and Precision Nutrition. So when you put all my education together and I tally that up, I spent, outside of my college degree, I've spent over $35,000 on just my education in nutrition and strength conditioning in the past now 11 years, which has been an incredible investment, because to me, I'm an education geek and freak, and I want to continue to be able to serve my clients to the best of my potential. But it doesn't just stop there, right? It's not about just my education. All the knowledge in the world, like so much knowledge, but I mean, just in knowledge, right? And that was my biggest hiccup, Justin, is once I realized, okay, I've got all this knowledge, but now I need to hire a business coach and mentorship, right? Like, how do I find that? So I hired my very first business coach 5 years ago, invested in my business coach, and it was a good investment. I'd never known what to spend on a business coach. So I invested $5,000 in this business coach, and it kind of got me off the ground running and understanding, like, I need to have a website. How do I do some marketing? How do I understand how to talk to who I actually want to talk to with the target market, right? That was a good investment. So it got me off the ground, right? And then I got hungry to learn more and have better business coaches and whatnot. And that's when tables turned, and I made some bad investments. I have to admit, you guys, is I got really hungry and I wasn't really seeing the impact. And I started to just invest based off of the monetary value that these coaches said they could give me. So I invested then, now we're talking 4 years ago, between 4 years ago and then now 2 years ago, I made investments in 4 different business coaches that totaled up to $68,000 that did nothing for me. So, I mean, I don't even want to say they did nothing for me because it was the best learning experience for me. So most people would be super upset that they spent that money. I mean, yeah, of course, who wants to spend that amount of money? And some people think I'm crazy. And my family's like, what are you doing? But it's all about creating that investment to really understand how to be the best I can be, really allow people to understand my gifts and what I can do. And that's not my specialty. And that's why we all have coaches in different arenas, right? Business is not my expertise. I needed help in that business guidance. But at that time, Justin, I didn't know what to look for in a business coach. So I was just hiring the next best, essentially shiny object. And I absolutely learned $68,000 later, learned exactly what not to hire in a coach. So now you can ask me what is the best kind of coaches to look for, how to hire the right coaches. And I can give you an entire list of what to not hire, look for, and what to look for. So once I finally got smart about that and got me and my family $68K in debt, I finally was able to find the right coaches. And so now fast forward 2 years and we're not 60K, 8K in debt. We're actually in a plethora and we have saved and we made 6 figures plus. But that came from not overnight. And that's something that people think happens so much, Justin, is they think it happens overnight. And it's now taken me from when I started investing in my company. I've owned my own company for 10 years. But from that 10-year part of me being a business owner to now, I'm just now in the last 2 years, like actually just exploding and really creating the income and the impact that I desire to do. It didn't happen in 90 days. It happened for me in a matter of 8 years of making mistakes and learning and understanding. And that's where it's so misconstrued in the world of coaching is there's so many coaches out there that make false promises. And it's actually being super detrimental to the coaches out there that actually want to add real value and impact. And it's actually taking away from that because they're not actually being served and delivered what it is they're desiring to learn in business. So many coaches just looking for the next dollar sign. And that's what brings me to where I am today and continuing to coach, but then also educating other coaches on what to look for in hiring coaches so they don't go broke hiring the wrong coaches.
Yeah, I mean, you've been through a lot more than I have for sure, and that's why I'm so excited to kind of dive into this topic on that. But I want to bring you back to what you mentioned earlier. Like you said, I could tell you everything to look for, all the good things to look for and all the bad things, something like that. Can you kind of break those lists down for us?
For sure. So if you want to hire a business coach, someone that's going to help you to scale your business income and impact to the next level, the first thing you always want to do is you want to talk to people they've worked with. First and foremost, it doesn't matter because coaches can throw up hundreds of testimonies on a website. They can throw out any number to you. But the most important thing that you could absolutely do is speak to current clients of that business coach. Speak to clients that had that business coach a year ago. Where are they at in their business now? Are the tactics that they learned from that coach sustainable tactics to then continue to grow them forward, right? And then talk to those that have invested 2 years prior, right? So you don't ever want to work with a coach that doesn't have a bank of clients that they've worked with minimum 2 years to understand from a business side. So you can get every range of understanding what was their experience like, what did they learn from them? And I'm not talking about testimonies, you guys. Like I said, I'm talking about reaching out, having real conversations with these different clients that coaches have. And minimum of five clients do you want to speak to really get every single person's perspective on what their experience was. Because you might have 2 people that had like a horrible experience and then compare it to the ones that had great experiences. And then you have a really good idea and knowledge of where they've come from with that. Then you want to see what they've done, like actually look at their resume. And it doesn't matter about the website per se, but understand like what is it have you really done? So you look first, number one, speak to who they've worked with. And if they've all had negative things to say, run for the hills, don't hire that coach. But if they've all been positive, step 2, okay, you want to then talk to the coach and you're interviewing them. Remember, guys, when you're hiring business coaches, you're not being interviewed. You're interviewing the coach. So then you're going to interview the coach and say, this is where I am right now. This is where I desire to be. How are you going to help me get there? And then you're going to interview that coach you want to hire and ask them to write out that plan. And they're going to dive into your business and write that plan out for you. And if you still feel good about that, then you're going to look at the contract of that coach, and you're going to ask to look at that contract and see what that looks like for the coach that you want to hire. See what it all entails. What's the cancellation policy? What are they promising? What are they not promising? Or what are they guaranteeing? So no coach can promise anything, and they can't really guarantee. They can make guarantees of actions, but no coach can actually guarantee that you're going to make a certain amount of money, because that's all dependent, again, on our actions as the client, just like as a nutrition coach. So those are the top 3 things you absolutely need to dive into before you think of hiring that business coach: is interviewing clients, then interviewing the actual coach, and then you want to take a look at the actual contract, what that looks like, and reading through the fine print of that contract so that you always know that your butt is covered in every situation. It's a red flag if if your coach that you want to hire doesn't have people to talk to with testimonies. If any coach, you should never hire a coach if you cannot speak to past, current, and future clients of that coach. If they don't have a contract for you to look at, don't. If they can't actually outline actionable steps that are going to create outcomes for you, don't hire that coach. And you see, guys, I didn't know that. Like, literally, I didn't know that 5 years ago. I just was completely drawn by, okay, I'm going to get you 6 figures in 90 days. Sweet, where do I sign? But I didn't actually look at, okay, wait, how are you going to get me there? Oh, wait, I just spent $10K on a blueprint. You didn't really actually coach me. And so those are the mistakes that I made. So when you actually dive in, you guys, into really you want to understand every single thing about the process so that you have a very clear understanding of what that relationship is going to look like. Then you can go into that coaching relationship confident and really knowing that your money is going towards something of value, because you know the outcomes that you're going to receive if you do the work that the coach gives you.
Whew. That was good. I like that. I'll be honest, guys. Like I said, I don't have as much of a history in working with mentors and things like that, but I can tell you that 2 out of the 3 of those boxes were not checked for me. And, I completely agree with all 3 of those. I think that it's so incredibly important. I think the first one makes a lot of sense, right? Like, of course you're going to go and talk to people they've worked with. Like, that was the thing I thought about, but the other 2 things, I didn't think about it, and it wasn't mapped out,
It's crazy how many people don't. And then again, you look at those business coaches, and then there's like the mastermind groups, right? And then there's coaches saying, hey, like, join this mastermind. It's $25K, or it's this absurd amount of money. But then you wonder, okay, what's the actual value? What is the impact and value that you're actually receiving from this mastermind? Like, do you really want to spend $50K on a mastermind that you then have to spend money on top of going to the meetings every quarter? So you have to spend $50K to invest in the coaches. Then it's about $1,500 to $2,000 every time you travel. And there's usually 4 meetups a year. So tack on another $8K. But then you're wondering, in between those masterminds, okay, they're only giving you a call every 2 weeks. Okay, so you're spending money to go see them. You spent money to invest in them to coach you. But yet, are you really getting $50,000 worth of coaching and impact and guidance and education? And that's where this whole mastermind arena that's going on right now, blowing up, is business coaches are getting instant success, and then they're saying, oh, hey, I can coach you, but yet they have no idea how to actually give you implementable, actionable steps to get you to that desired destination, because they've only been there once. So if the business coach, as it comes to masterminds, you guys, if a mastermind hasn't been around for a minimum 5 years, don't join it. I just highly, highly suggest, just from personal professional experience, don't join it. Because you want to see, and you want to talk to people because a mastermind usually is a year long. You need to talk to people, coaches that have been in those masterminds. What have been their results, their experiences? What's the income level that they've created from it? What's the impact they've created from the said coaching in those masterminds? So again, you want to interview a mastermind just like you're going to interview hiring a coach, because it's a huge investment in your growth and in your business. And if you're not going to take that seriously, then you're probably going to lose money.
Yep. I have nothing more to say on that end. So I guess on the other side of it, like, so we talked about kind of the essential things there, like these are the checklist items that they have to have in order to be able to kind of move forward. So on the other side of it, like what are maybe like some of the red flags, obviously if you couldn't check the boxes, but is there anything else that you wanted to expand on with that?
Yeah, red flags for what, masterminds or group coaching or the coaching?
Uh, yeah, I mean, mastermind mentorship, same thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do that, all that. So mastermind mentorship, speaking mastermind in general, another red flag is if they tell you and promise you an outcome, that's a red flag because no one can promise you an outcome. And most masterminds, okay, over 90% of them will promise you that they're going to get you to 7 figures in a year. They promise you that you're going to get to 6 figures in 90 days. Okay, if they're going to make that promise and guarantee to you, then you need to see that written down. If they're going to guarantee that, and if they are going to guarantee that they're going to get you there, and if you don't, what's the repercussion on their part? Are they going to get a money back guarantee? So there's and literally guys, in the 5 years now I've been in masterminds, there's now one mastermind that I've actually just recently joined 2 weeks ago that has a complete money back guarantee. If you don't make, and they don't promise you're going to make money, they guarantee the action steps. But if you don't fulfill those from where you are to at the end of the mastermind time, they guarantee, and it's in the contract that they sign along with you, a full 100% refund. And these people have been in business for 20 years. So this mastermind I joined, it's the confidence level that I have as a business professional and owner is through the roof, going through the process of the mastermind that I'm in now, based on some masterminds I've been in the past that, again, guys, I've thrown money down the toilet because didn't receive the outcome, didn't receive the actual investment back. And a lot of them guarantee you that you're going to receive these things. So you guys, if they're going to guarantee that, you need to then, and again, interview the mastermind. And that's a red flag if they're guaranteeing you and they can't show it to you on paper and they don't give you money back. That's a red flag. If they're not giving you weekly mentorship, that's a red flag. If you're investing $50,000 or $25,000, you're not getting weekly mentorship, red flag. Okay. So if they're not investing in you as much as you're investing in them, huge red flag. If they're not giving you the time that you deserve, huge red flag. All right. So that's things you need to look at when you're going to be joining a mastermind or mentorship is, okay, if I'm going to invest this money and it's 1 year from now and I have not achieved X, Y, and Z from this mentorship that I've had, is it worth it? No, absolutely at the beginning. But if you have gone through the interview process with them and you have seen your guys' contract and you noted down the guarantees, they've written out your business plan, and if you can see in a 12-month period that you've created all of these actionable steps, they're going to guide you down that path. And you know you're going to be successful because at the end of the day, you guys, it's not on our mentor's job. Yes, it is our coach's job to hold us accountable and the mentor's job to do so. But at the end of the day, it's our jobs as coaches, if we're investing in these mentorships and masterminds, to do the work. So if we're not doing the work that's given to us, then it is on us. But if we're doing the work and then we're still not getting results, it's on the mentorship. And if they're not going to give you new and guided mentorship, that's a red flag. Get out immediately. So at the end of the day, it's not about spending money and then them saying, see you later. They need to coach you and guide you down your hero's journey. And if they're not coaching and guiding you on a weekly basis, that's a huge red flag and something you should not invest in.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's tons of good points that you made there. And hopefully, I mean, this is going to help so many people. I want to touch on, maybe that might have been a little bit more of the negative side of it, but hey, it's the truth, right? And it's the stuff that people need to know. But yeah, what are maybe like, let's transition maybe into like the positives. So like, what are like the lessons that you've learned from business coaches, masterminds, mentorships? Like if you could pick like maybe your top 3 to 5 things like that you could share with people, what would those things be?
The top 3 to 5 things I've learned through my masterminds. I would say the first one is you can't do it alone. Community. If you're an entrepreneur, you cannot go at this game alone. It's going to be super lonely and you won't be successful, period, end of story. You need.
So that's another great point then, right? Is if the mastermind doesn't have, like if it's just one-on-one and you don't maybe have that community piece, that might be hard too.
Yeah, 100%. You got to have community and you got to have like-minded people around you to hold you accountable. Because if you don't, it gets super lonely. And then if you don't have somebody holding you accountable, you're running your business, you're not going to start to reach your goals because the one person, guys, that we hold ourselves least accountable to is ourselves. So if you don't have somebody holding you accountable, you're going to look back at your goals a year from now if you don't have that accountability, and you're going to say, did I reach my goals? And I bet over 80% of you are going to say, no, I'm in the same spot. You didn't have somebody pushing you to get you to those goals. And that's huge in mentorship, is having someone who's actually pushing you and guiding you and having your goal check-ins. And it's not just, okay, here's your 90-day goals. Here's our monthly goals. Here's then our weekly actionable steps that we have to complete to then get to those monthly goals and those ROIs, so that you make sure that you're on the path to get to those goals by the end of the year. And if you have to reassess, you reassess, and that's okay. But if you don't have that mentorship and guidance, it's super lonely. So for me, number one is community and having that guidance. Okay. And number two is having another eyes on my vision. So as clear as I believe I see my vision, when you have the right coach and right mentorship, they see it at a higher level, and they can see the things that we don't see in our vision to then create those steps or create those products or those coachings, those seminars or workshops, podcasts, whatever it is, that can help get to your vision at a much higher scale or even in a better vision. So community, having second set of eyes, because two heads are better than one. So that's number two. Number three would be actionable steps. How do I actually get there so that I can know that I'm creating those plans to be able to reach my goals? So that would be number three then, is having those actionable steps. And then number 4 and 5 is really understanding the business. Like, what do I need in my business to move it forward every day? Whether that's the operational side, the financial side, a way to impact people, whether that's ad spend, whether that is learning how to run Instagram, you name it. So operations is huge, is really understanding like my business operations to move forward. And then the absolute last one, which to me is the most important, is goals. Setting those goals. Like me setting the goals, but having somebody look at those, hold those accountable, and tweak those goals so that they're actually moving the needle forward is most important. You trying to set your goals by yourself and not having someone to actually look at them for you and help change those reverse engineered action steps can be super difficult by yourself. It's super lonely. So those, I'd say, are the 5 biggest takeaways in order to receive the results that you want, in order to be able to grow the business that you desire to have.
Love that. Love that. So, one thing that I guess I would kind of carry up off of that is that a lot of the times, especially, coaches, business owners, whatever, like sometimes they can they can kind of put themselves into like this self-sabotage. So talking about holding yourself accountable, like I feel like you hold yourself accountable very, very well. I mean, you're about to finish that 75 hard. I see you post on Instagram every day. So how do you stay so consistent with things, and have you always been that way? Is that something that kind of dig on that for the listeners?
When it comes to consistency, truth be told, I've been super consistent like all my life. I've had my dips and lows, but my consistency has always come from accountability. I've known myself that I need accountability in order to stay consistent, in order to reach my goals. Some people don't, but I know for me personally, if I don't have an accountability buddy, it's going to be difficult for me to reach my goals. So especially when I became postpartum to now, I didn't have an accountability partner. And I honestly became somewhat depressed when I, 3 and 4 and 5 months out postpartum. But then when Andy Frisella came out and I was wondering, okay, do I want to hire a trainer? What do I want to do? Because guys, I'm going to tell you right now, us as coaches, we need coaches. And I'll be the first to admit it unapologetically that I need coaches. I have a nutrition coach. I have a business coach. And I have an accountability coach in 75 Hard with Andy Frisella. So when I listened to his podcast, and when he talked about that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the kick in the butt that I need for me to like get my momentum back in my own personal health and fitness. So for me to make that commitment to myself and then like put that out too on social media, I was like, I can't let these people down, especially all my clients too. If I let them down, what does that say about me as a coach? If I'm going to be out there. So for me, this has been a huge, like having like these goals that I set you guys, especially as coaches, that puts me in my clients' mindsets. Cause there's been days I'm telling you guys, I don't want to freaking do it. And my clients feel the same way. So how can I then relate to them and really understand and have that empathy that clients need? So that's really helped me up my game as a coach and up myself as a mindset and then also as a mentor. So this has been a huge challenge for me, is doing 75 Hard with Andy Frisella. All y'all check it out. It's great. But, and then once 75 Hard is done, people have asked, Casey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, it's never going to end. I'm going to have my next accountability, my next goal set. So that's always huge for me, Justin, is how I've been able to stay consistent with continuing to grow is always having an accountability partner and always having a coach.
Yeah, I love that. At what point did you actually realize though that you needed that? Like how old were you, would you say?
Oh gosh, I would say I realized that. So I'm 33 now. So I'd say I realized it when I was 26. When I was 26, I realized, and it was when I was done coaching. I was done with when I finished college when I was 22. Then I went to lots of different competitive arenas, and then I was lonely. So I stopped competing I competed in CrossFit. I competed in bikini competitions. I did battle frog races, Spartan races. And that was my accountability, right? But it was when I got done and I gained a bunch of weight, I hit rock bottom. I was like, holy crap, man. Like I can't continue this by myself. Like I need help. But I had been stubborn, right? I was like this stubborn strength coach who thought I was a badass. I don't need to ask any help. Cause to me, asking for help and asking for guidance was a weakness. When in reality, trying to do it by yourself is the weakness. And that's the stubbornness, which doesn't create success. I was like, wow, and when a mentor of mine told me that, it was actually my very first strength coach that I had in high school, told me that I was the one being weak by not asking for help, and that having help makes me stronger in community. I'll never forget that conversation. I was like fat and miserable and pissed. And I was like, okay, duly noted. So then hired a coach, and I've never been without a coach ever since. So it's the best decision I made.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, Casey, I don't want to expand too much more on that initial conversation we had, because I think that it was fire, and I want to leave it there. So where can everybody reach out to you to connect with you? Website, social media, all of that. And we'll be sure to put everything in the show notes there as well.
Oh my gosh. Thanks so much. Justin, it's always so much fun talking to you. I can just talk for hours. But Instagram, you can find me as Casey Tom. And then you can find me on Facebook as well as Casey Tom. And then my website, is icannutritioncoaching.com. But you can find me all over as Casey Tom. So love to connect with you all if you have any questions.
Casey Tom. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.